Okay, the IET is now secured to our new V4R inlet. Well, that was kind of slow, but not really. Now we have that huge V4R inlet. Now let's get this bike out really quick and see what we can do for a 60 through 130. Let's see if it's faster than the V4R from a first gear hit. What's up guys, we're back with another install video for the 2025 Ducati Panigale V4. Now today we aren't installing any fancy parts on the motorcycle. We're actually installing a Ducati OEM part, but it's not for the V4, it's for the V4R, and that is the inlet. The front of the V4 currently has a very shallow inlet, ends about right here. This is from the V4R, from the 2026 V4R, and we did a comparison video on this already, and I showed you guys how malleable this actually is, and under wind pressure it will expand, and Ducati says 1.3 horsepower, but that is for the V4R, which has a different engine and requires more air. This could be a zero net gain for the V4, but you know what? We're gonna try it anyway because it can't hurt. And while I can't take the bike out and actually test to see if we gained 1.3 horsepower at 180 miles per hour or whatever, I will try and do some GPS testing just for fun because we really haven't done any good GPS testing with this bike, especially in first gear for that 60 through 130 hit, which we saw over 4 seconds on the V4R. I think the V4 is gonna beat that, but we're gonna check it out. First, let's get started on this inlet install. Now, a couple things I'm noticing about the inlet right off the rip here, and that's this giant box at the top here. This box serves no purpose for the air itself, but it is a sort of muffler. As you can see, there's a hole, if I can pick this thing up, a hole right there, and it's just an empty cavern up top. There's no actual use for this, no benefit performance. It is just to muffle the air noise coming through the inlet. We can also see got a few screw holes here. This matches the V4 screw holes, and of course we got some spots here it connects to the other pieces, which we'll be discussing real soon here. And then of course probably some zip ties and things of that nature as well. Now, while I haven't removed the inlet before, I have removed the front end off this motorcycle, so let's get started by removing the front end, or the top piece right here with the windscreen. But first, let's go ahead and pull apart these two side pieces, one on each side. There's two bolts, a number 3 Allen there and a number 3 Allen here. Let's go ahead and get these off. After the screws are removed, see it pulls back. You can remove it just like that. And I didn't really go over this, but I put this bike on a front and a rear stand. Reason being, it's very secure now, especially if I'm pulling things back and forth. You want it to fall off the kickstand. It just kind of gives you a level of security. When you put it on the rear stand, just make sure you watch out for this line. Sometimes it comes unclipped from here, and it could get caught in between the stand and the spool, and if that happens, it may actually break the line, which this is your ABS line. You'll have all sorts of errors. Bad day. Now that we have those removed, I already see one thing I need to disconnect immediately, which is the Bluetooth module, the multimedia module. Now, some of you do not have that. Probably most of you don't, because this is not a factory thing. It actually costs quite a bit of money to add this on. It gives you the Bluetooth, it gives you phone connectivity, all that stuff, but it's something you have to pay for on Ducati. So I have to disconnect this because we have to remove this whole front end. Now, if we already have a 3 on our ratchet, we want to go ahead and remove these two side screws here, one on each side. After you remove both those from each side, you have 4 number 4s here, which are going to be right here, right there, and right down there. Remove all 4 of those. Now the screws that come out of the top here are very short, while the screws that come down there, they're very long. Keep track of that. Now all those screws are loosened up. You should be able to pull this straight out. This needs a little bit of wiggling back and forth, a little encouragement, and it comes out just like that. Now what I recommend while it's out is this. Go ahead and put some grease in there. Just do yourself a favor, put some lithium grease in that, because once you put it back on, you want to take it off again, it's much easier to pull out. Another housekeeping thing you can do while you already have this off is some dirt kind of collection here. I see a little, maybe like a one thing in there, right? It's just bothering me because I'm a perfectionist. So I want to get that out, but you can't get that out when the bike's straight up. But now I can get it out just like that. And now it's still there. I'm gonna get a piece of tape and a screwdriver and get that out because it's really annoying me. After some track days, you get some dirt that collects in here and you can pour it basically out, but some of it sticks. Now that we have the top off here, I'm glad I did that because I can see quite a few things I have to disconnect before pulling this out, which number 1 is going to be these turn signals. These are futurist Moto turn signals. They're actually integrated into the headlights. They look really good. If you guys have a Panigale V4 or V4R, I strongly recommend these. I didn't think I'd like them as much as I do, but they're really great. So it's really just these 2 connectors here. This is for the headlights. Then we have a few screws I'll go over here in a second, but as far as electronics go, I've already disconnected the multimedia device. That's it for electronics. All right, I've got all the electronics disconnected here. So you pull this piece up right here, then you push it in, and this all comes out, and that's for the headlights. Everything is disconnected. I can't see anything else here that's going to be connecting this except for the IET, which I can't reach right now, so I'll have to carefully pull this out and then get to the IET. You can see the IET slot right here. This is exactly where it goes, which is pretty buried in the bike. Now let's go ahead and take care of the remainder of the screws we have. We have to pull this one out. This one right here we have to pull out. I believe these are both number 4s. And then one underneath the bike here we have to pull out as well. Let me see if I can get a good image of this thing. There. It's blurry as hell. That's also number 4 down there, and you can see it indicated here. It's what kind of connects all the fairings together. I also forgot to mention that under here on each side, there is a random screw right there you got to pull out as well. Now you have all of that off, you're ready to pull it off and wiggle it out gently from the front. There are a couple of guides you have to just pull up from the front on. And you just kind of wiggle it little by little. Well, that was kind of slow, but not really. What am I attached to here? Okay, so where I thought the multimedia device was attached to wasn't exactly attached there. I've got a different spot it's attached at. It looks like it's attached with zip ties. Let's go ahead and try and get this back to a spot where I can leave it and I can go get a tool real fast. Now you guys at home probably won't have to deal with this because this, again, is the multimedia device. Okay, that's gone now. Then we just have the IET. Now the IET's off. And there we go. And as you can see here, this is the line I was talking about for the multimedia system. And this is the IET right here. It just unclips from both sides. It just has hooks and it pulls right out. And as you can see, this is the whole front of the bike right here, including the inlet. Now we just gotta replace it with this. Okay, this actually seems like it's gonna be pretty easy. All we have to do is look at this. We can see we got 4 notches right here, 2 on each side, and we have holes through here. So obviously, these holes at the bottom here, we have to remove the screws from to get this out. And then we have 4, see these little tabs right there? We have to remove those too. And you can see it mirrors this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the ones at the bottom. And this should actually fall out. I'm not seeing anything else holding this in other than those things. So the bottom bolts are all Allens, but the top ones here are actually T20s. The T means this little star looking pattern. You can see it right there. And you just gotta remove it with the Torx. Now we just gotta deal with the bolts here. There's 1, 2, 3, they're all number 4 Allens. These should be relatively easy to remove. I probably need 2 hands to do this though. All right, all 3 of those are out. You can see the side ones here are different than the nose one. So just keep that in mind. Now I should be able to pull this out. And I did. That was first try, guys. Now all we gotta do is swap over the IET real quick here, and then we're in business. Now to remove the IET here, you need a T10. Look at that star looking thing right there. Very, very small Torx. Just make sure you got that on hand. The IET is removed. You can see it right there. And you can also see there's a gasket here. We're gonna remove that and put it onto the new one. Keep in mind with these gaskets here, if your bike is a few years old, obviously this is 2026, we've had this bike for only a year, but if it's like a few years old, maybe get this before the project just so you have a spare. It's a little bit of rubber. With time, it's gonna age and gonna be junk. Another pro tip here is when you're screwing these Torx back in, especially the ones in the headlight housings here, do not over tighten. If you over tighten, you're gonna strip this out, and guess what? That's a whole headlight housing. You're not dealing with a couple bucks, you're dealing with a couple $1,000s, so do not do that. And you can see, the headlights are attached. It's not even singular headlights, it's dual, so be very careful. You can see the screw here. Like, this is a very coarse screw. It will strip everything out of there if you don't tighten it properly. Okay, the IET is now secured to our new V4R inlet. And a side note here, good on Ducati for putting the IET in the nose. So many manufacturers do not do that, and I love that Ducati does that because we get actual ambient reading of the air coming in, whereas on other bikes we have to relocate it. We make the kit for the BMW. We have a kit we're making for the Aprilia. We're trying to do exactly what Ducati's been doing for years, and I've gone over multiple times why BMW and other manufacturers put it in the air box. And I also understand why Ducati puts it here. But this gives you actual ambient reading temperature instead of corrupted readings in the air box, which can give you less power. We can see the old inlet here. Well, it doesn't have any restriction on the air that's coming in. It also doesn't pull it in or doesn't expand like the other one does. This inlet is static. It doesn't move at all. It's very hard plastic. Now that the piece is prepped, I'm gonna go ahead and put it in place. Now, actually, when you're sliding in, you wanna turn this over so it's top mounted. And you can see right here, I can pull it out and I can put it in. There's a little slide at the top of this. See right there? That needs to slide in properly, and it's hard to do with one hand. There we go. That's in just like that. You want to make sure it looks like that, and then everything should line up. You can see those bolt holes are all lining up now, and the bolts at the bottom should line up. Let me go ahead and get this prepped up so you guys can see the final product. All right, and there we are. We now have a catfish. She's all wrapped up. So the 3 screws here, very easy to put in. And again, the 4 in here, very easy to put in as long as you put them in carefully. So that's all done. Now we can go ahead and throw this on the motorcycle. I'm gonna go ahead and button everything back up. If there's any issues with anything, I'll let you guys know. All right, short break here. When putting this back in, you have to slide it into a slot here. You can see way down there, right? And there's also one in here as well, right under the fairing that goes in here. Not only that, but you have to make sure this tab is above the fairing, and you have to make sure down there, this from the bike slides in between those two for the black and where the clip is. On both sides. It's a little bit of effort, but it's easily done as long as you just take your time with it and don't try to just shove it in. And that is it. I wiped her down a little bit. She is looking great now, and check it out. Now we have that huge V4R inlet, and it is malleable. So more air pressure, this opens up even more for a bigger gulp. As long as you guys take your time with it, you guys will not end up with any extra bolts. Everything goes back exactly as it was. There's no issues. Everything looks perfect. Now let's get this bike out really quick and see what we can do for a 60 through 130, 100 through 150, and see exactly where this bike lands and see if it's faster than the V4R from a first gear hit.
Hate to leave you guys in suspense, but let's talk about the 2026 V4R numbers first. Now that bike with a full system in our stage 2 ran a 4.4 60 through 130 and a 4.3 100 through 150 mile per hour. We didn't really test the top speed on it because we didn't really run it out that far, but I can tell you it's much slower than the 4.1 60 through 130 that we got with the 23 V4R. That also achieved a 3.9 100 to 150. Now we are talking about second gear starts on the 24 V4. We didn't do a first gear start, but we did do a first gear start on the 26 V4R, and that achieved a 4.1 60 through 130 with a first gear start. Now let's talk about the 25 V4. Just now with a second gear start, we ran a 4.1 60 through 130 and a 3.9 100 through 150. Now keep in mind that 4.1 was a second gear start on this motorcycle, whereas on the V4R, that was a first gear start. So why not test the first gear start, right? I did that too. With a first gear start, this bike achieved a 3.9 60 through 130. And we got a top speed of 199 miles per hour, and that's the same spot we shut down on the 24 V4R that got 193 miles per hour. Now there's no trickery here. This is 91 pump gas through and through. There's no corruption with race gas in here. This is a full tank of just 91, same as we had on the 26 V4R, and same as we had on the 24 V4R.
So I got the bike back in the BT garage, and I wanted to show you guys the mods and do a walk around on the bike to show you exactly how we got this bike this fast. So as we know, number one here is going to be the inlet. I don't even know if this actually made any power, but it's definitely not hurting it. We also can't forget about our Akrapovic slip-on system. This is not a full system, it is just a slip system. The rest of this is stock. We have a completely 100% stock wheelbase in this bike, and it has not been lowered whatsoever. You can see we have the stock link there, not the 1-inch drop that we make. And you can see we're not lowered through the forks there. And there's no strap kit whatsoever. Completely stock sprockets front and rear with the OEM 520 chain. That's right, these bikes, the V4 and the V4R for 26 and 25, now come with a 520 chain. Now we also have our custom tuning on this motorcycle with our custom velocity stacks. And that makes this bike what this is. And again, 91 pump gas. It's California ACN 91. It's stupidly fast. We're gonna shave off a few tenths if we go to VP race fuel and get a higher top speed. Now, as I explained in other videos, if you want a V4R or your V4 to look like a V4R, you can get that brushed aluminum tank if you really want to. You can get the wings and you can get the side pods. And I showed you guys with the comparison that all of those things can be put on this motorcycle, including the inlet, which we just did. The V4, very impressive bike. The 25 models plus are a lot more rideable than the older models were, and they're so much faster. For the price of the V4R, you can almost get 2 base models. You can have one for the track and one for the street if you want. Now, I went over the differences in why you'd pick a V4R if that's what you wanted in another video. The last thing that's a little bit annoying in this motorcycle is the cooling, and we've figured something out for that as well. Now with our tuning, instead of the fan coming on at 216 and then turning off at 208, it now comes on at 190. So that cools the bike down quite a bit, and of course, putting on a different exhaust system than stock, whether it be slip or full system, also helps reduce the heat quite a bit. So now, the bike actually feels pretty decent stoplight to stoplight. Now you could do something like a radiator and replace that out, but the bike's fan temps will still come on at 216 regardless whether you have an aftermarket radiator or not. What you really have to do is turn down the fan on temp, which is what we did with our tuning now. So before spending a few $1,000s on a radiator, look to our tuning and of course get that exhaust system and you'll be all set. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I'll see you in the next one.